Ladies and gentlemen, Tony Covington here. I'm the state's attorney for Charles County, which means I'm the chief prosecutor here in Charles County. I come to you today to talk about this case that was recently resolved. That's with the first grader who last year was struck by a defendant who failed to stop at a school bus that had its flashing lights on. I want to talk to you about it today because there are a number of people out there who are dissatisfied with the outcome of that case. Well, let me tell you something. I join you in that dissatisfaction. I'm not dissatisfied because the police didn't do a good investigation, or that my office didn't do what they were supposed to do, or that the judge didn't do what she was supposed to do. Quite the contrary. The police investigated the case fine. My office prosecuted the case to the fullest extent of the law, and the judge imposed the maximum penalty for the crime. No, the problem in this case is that the law doesn't allow for, in my mind, an appropriate penalty for these types of situations. First, I want to talk about the facts of the case. And the reason I want to do that is because the news reports that I've seen have been woefully inaccurate. So here's what happened. Back on November 27th, almost a year ago, this first grader was on her bus being taken home from school. She's on Oliver Shop Road in the bus. Now, this is Oliver Shop Road right before Leonardtown Road. If any of you know that area, that's a very long light. This is about 3:45 in the afternoon. There's a long line of traffic, cars first, and then you have a number, 5, 6, maybe 7 buses that are all in a line. The child was on the third bus in that line. She's sitting there. The bus driver puts on the flashing lights, puts out the stop sign, and this child, along with, I believe, 3 others, exit the bus to go home. In order to go home, they have to cross the street. The defendant, who's driving an F-150, is coming in the opposite direction. And I want to clarify, she was not in the same direction as the buses. She did not come from around the bus or behind the bus, cross over the double yellow line, and end up striking this child. She was coming in the opposite direction. For reasons unknown and for whatever reason, she did not see the flashing lights of this bus. At the last second, she did see this child, tried to avoid the child, to no avail, struck the child. The defendant did stay at the scene of the accident, scene of the crime, really. The child was seriously injured, had to be taken to, I believe, 2 hospitals. Through the grace of God, she has made a miraculous recovery. And by all the accounts that I've had since then, she's hopefully, prayerfully, not going to have any long-lasting effects from this, except, of course, the terrible memories of this tragedy that she had to undergo. So those are the facts of the case. Like I say, much different than what has been put out there already. Now let's get back to the law itself. You know, in this case, the police investigated it. My office charged this defendant with the most serious crime she could be charged with under these facts. The defendant pled not guilty. We had a trial, called witnesses. She was convicted. And then the court did what the court was supposed to do, what we argued for, which was to impose the maximum sentence, which is a $1,000 fine, and the court also gave the defendant some community service. Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, those penalties are simply inadequate, at least in my view. And because I think they're inadequate, I'm actually trying to call all of you to action. I want to change these laws. I believe, especially when it comes to a school bus, that if you fail to stop for a school bus that's loading and unloading children, that has its flashers on, and you strike a child, you should have a higher penalty than simply a $1,000 fine. You should be looking at going to jail. If the injuries are minor, there should still be jail time. And if the injuries are life-threatening, like they were in this case that we're talking about, or if death ensues, you should be looking at very serious jail time. And please understand something, ladies and gentlemen. We have fatal accidents all the time, unfortunately, where the at-fault driver is charged with nothing more than a payable citation. That happens all the time. Not every fatal accident is a drunk driving case. Drunk driving cases are dealt with differently, and rightfully so. But I think school buses should be dealt with differently too. Why? We know that there are children on these buses. We know that children, even though you try to tell them, look both ways before you cross the street, all of that stuff, they're not going to do that. They're going to act sporadically, impulsively, and they're going to do what they want to do, which lends to a very dangerous situation. That's why you're supposed to stop for a school bus anyway. So what I'm proposing, and I'm proposing this to our legislators, the people that make the laws in Maryland, that, hey, if a school bus is involved and somebody fails to stop for that school bus, then the penalty for the accident that they cause should be greater. And if life-threatening injuries or death occur, then the sentencing should be very heavy. But guess what? I can talk all I want. It's not going to mean a hill of beans. We need our lawmakers to hear from you, the public. I know people roll their eyes when you say call your congressman, but guess what? It really does make a difference. These lawmakers, your elected officials, they do care about what you care about if you let them know. How do you let them know? You let them know by contacting them. You see them walking around the community, talk to them. You send them an email, you call them on the phone. The squeaky wheel gets the grease, somebody told me a long time ago. That's certainly true in politics. Those people who make the most noise get what they want. So, to that end, somewhere on this post, you should see the phone number and email for every single member of the Charles County delegation, the senators and delegates who go to Annapolis, actually starting in January, and they're the ones that propose and pass laws. They're the people we need to talk to. Now, hopefully, we can get this law passed so that the next first grader who gets struck by somebody who didn't stop for a school bus will know that justice might be had, that somebody might be held accountable in the appropriate way, not just have to pay a little bit of money as a consequence of their actions. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Tony Covington. I'm your state's attorney. Thank you for watching this video. I hope it was informative. Signing off. Thank you.